Next panel that I'd like to introduce you to is moderator Adam Gravitis. He's the CTO of TodaQ. He's a crypto and AI expert. I've known Adam for years and years. He's always been in payments and crypto and AI. He's one of the very, very few people that I feel that I can trust implicitly with all of his mind power and all of the things that he does. I'm going to introduce his panel and reintroduce him again. Ben Goertzel, the third time I introduced Ben today, CEO and Chief Scientist at SingularityNET. Ben, please come up. And I would highly recommend folks to sit in a sequence of where their picture is, just so folks can identify them, because it's very hard to identify Ben. The next person is Jason Ernst, CTO of RightMesh. Jason and I met at a hackathon where I was working on something that's called the proof of walk, where it combines a lot of things, and as you walk, charges your phone, and it does a lot of great things. And he was sitting right next to me with his team, and we spent 72 hours without sleep. So we got to bond, and nice to see you again. Jason came all the way from Vancouver. The next one is Barry Rowe, VP in R&D at WhoKnows. I got to know Barry for over 5 years now, and his very first job when he finished his PhD in math was on a Thursday finish. He came for an interview. I liked him a lot, and I said, can you come again for an interview on Friday? And at the time, Adam was also working with me. He interviewed him again, and he drilled him for 2.5 hours. And when he came out of this meeting, he's like, this guy would not fail any test. Came out and I said to Barry, when can you start? He's like, well, I was thinking of taking a couple of weeks off. I'm like, we kind of need you on Monday. He showed up on Monday at 8 a.m. And since then, we've known each other for quite some time. And we lived together in Palo Alto in a house that was falling apart. We lived the startup life of live and work together. And we had a lot of interesting stories that I would not recommend to tell them at an ACM conference, but if you are curious, you get to see a Silicon Valley TV show, and some of the jokes that are so inappropriate there, they happen in real life. Karthik couldn't make it. He did not die on his way here. He just could not make it. The next person, oh, Russell is right here. Russell Verteeten. He's Consensys Canada. I met him before I came out of the closet at one of the events, at the Ethereum events, and we kind of bonded. And Russell is one of the very few people at Consensys, actually the only person at Consensys that I like. Just kidding. Totally kidding. I actually even met the founder of Consensys, very well-intended dude. His name is Joe, and a lot of the people there extremely well-intended, and the entire blockchain benefits from a lot of the things that they're doing. They have over 40 companies. So I'll let Adam Gravitis take it from here. Please help me welcome this fabulous Adam Gravitis.
Thank you very much, Jiffy. We have a really interesting panel here, particularly because we've managed to get an all-technical panel together to do a really deep dive on the how. The rest of today, we've heard a lot about motivation and policy and governance, and I always like to add an opportunity to actually do a deep dive on some of the technical aspects of what we're talking about. At the risk of maybe alienating a couple of people, please bear with us. So what we've decided to do today is we're going to go through a few key internet services that you may all know and love, and we're going to discuss how the application of blockchain, AI, ML can be used to really decentralize those services, which in some cases were quite decentralized to begin with, but somehow found their way to be very, very centralized. So it's going to be sort of a rapid fire approach. We'll start with maybe 1 minute per speaker per service. We'll see how this goes. But starting with Ben, I'd like to discuss how would you re-decentralize email on the internet?
I do? I don't know what.
You're all wired up.
Oh, I'm wired up?
Yeah.
Oh, just amazing. Advanced technology. I mean, actually email and messaging in general should be easier to read decentralized than most things. We have peer-to-peer networks all over the place, and due to this guy and others, and we even have potential for mesh networking coming about. And I think the real value in re-decentralizing messaging, I mean, it's not just robustness against a single or few points of failure. It's that the AI analytics on this messaging can then be decentralized, and the ownership and the guidance of this AI analytics on the messaging can be decentralized. So what you want is for the messaging going around among different people to be part of a sort of decentralized global brain where the learning from these messages is directed by each person based on what they think is interesting to be done with their own messaging data rather than what some advertiser thinks is interesting.
Jason?
For me, I think the biggest thing that made centralized email exciting was the user experience. And I think if we re-architect it to be fully decentralized again, the biggest thing is going to be keeping the user experience good so that people will adopt it. That being said, I think the biggest opportunity is being able to tie identities to things right from the start, and privacy and encryption in email. So rather than now where people are doing add-on like PGPs on their email, and then we find out that PGP is broken or has problems, we can build some of this into it right from the beginning. I think it's probably the biggest thing I would focus on.
Barry?
Okay, so if I had to make webmail in a decentralized way, I think the I guess obvious analogy would be that I would have some sort of address that I would define. I would add it to a blockchain very similar to how Bitcoin works. That's pretty good. If I want to send a message to someone, I would sign that message and encrypt it with their public key, add that to the blockchain, and then when they want to read, they just decrypt the message they have with their private key. However, there could be a bit of a problem in that blockchains are immutable. So if something happens to your private key, for instance, you lose it, okay, fine, you can just start sending messages to a different address. But if you're in a situation where someone else, or you believe someone else has gotten access to your key, then that means that all the information that you put on the blockchain is now visible to that person. And because it's immutable, you can't get rid of it anymore. So I do believe that there would have to be some modifications to allow some sort of deleting to the blockchain, probably using some sort of economic incentive to, for the people who are storing this information on the blockchain to say, if you delete this, you will be incentivized.
So you have a concern about whether information or email, encrypted or not, stored on the blockchain would never be deleted, which is not unlike the situation with email right now.
Yeah, but in this case, you can change the password to your email. Right? And it's about how do you migrate something that you chose today into a different system tomorrow. And you need a way to change that, and being able to delete would allow you to do that.
Russell?
Yeah, I guess to follow on with that thought, because it's pretty interesting, is you probably want the data itself to be stored in like some sort of data layer provider. Other problems like making sure your messages that were encrypted let's say, quantum computing can be then encrypted with a quantum safe algorithm like that. But either way, I think it's pretty good, because I was asked the other day to send someone my social insurance number for a legitimate reason, but I was like, I really don't want to send you that. Can I do you have PGP set up? And of course the answer was no. So yeah, someone should do that, and it seems pretty straightforward.
All right, so that's email, the sort of once federated, perhaps soon to be re-decentralized service.